Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Ambition Unlocked. And once again, I'm your host, Louis, the Great, the Sensational. Right now, I'm on my Kanye West. I don't really have people glazing me in the comments, so I got to pat myself on the back every now and then. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I have a great one. I'm excited to talk about this topic as well. I think it's something that everyone can relate to. So today's topic of discussion is going to be the importance of your environment when it comes to your success. And I'm talking about both physically, like your physical environment, and as well as the type of people you surround yourself with. So like your friends, your family, and those business partners, all those types of things. And the reason I say that is I feel like your environment does play an important role when it comes to not only deciding what your goals and ambitions are, but also how you go about achieving them, and also how it either pushes you to achieve your goals or how it actually sets you back. A lot of people don't want to admit to that. They don't think, your physical environment actually plays a different role. They just think, hey, if your mindset is not where it needs to be, like it doesn't matter whether you're from a suburban area or you're from the trenches. If it's all in the mindset, your environment is not that important. And that's complete BS. Your environment does play a major role. If you live in a neighborhood where your neighbor to the left is a doctor, your neighbor to the left is a lawyer, the person in front of you is a judge, the other neighbors have their own businesses, it's going to be a lot easier to have success because, hey, I have a lawyer to my right that can help me with the aspects of my business that when it comes to laws and regulations. I have, other business people that can give me great advice on like, hey, here's what to do, here's what not to do. If you have a financial, somebody who's an accountant, like, hey, here's the numbers, here's the financial aspect of it. These are things that you have to pay for, like a consultant to sometimes just to even find out information. You have to pay people for information. And when you're surrounded by people who have the experience from like their personal life and their business ventures that are successful, and you're on great terms, like, hey, your kids are playing with their kids and then you're having a conversation, you're having $1 million conversation versus somebody who's in the trenches living in Section 8 and they don't even know what an EIN is. They don't even know what, financial literacy is. And you're out here trying to come up from nothing. Like you don't even know the terminologies to use to even get everything started, while they know like they have the blueprint from beginning to end. So your environment does play a major role when it comes to your success. And just to kind of have a little bit more structure is the role that your environment plays on even setting a goal in the first place. For example, like me and my friends, we grew up and we didn't really have that much. So when I first started to have goals, it was like in the materials, like, man, like my mom and dad, they're always struggling to pay the mortgage. My parents don't make a certain amount this month. We might not have certain luxuries for the next couple of months until we bounce back and be able to pay certain things. So in my mind, automatically, what I wanted to do when I grew up was, hey, I want to buy my parents a house and pay all of their bills. I'm tired of my mom driving a Honda CRV. I want her to have a Benz truck, let me put her in a G-Wagon. You get what I mean? And my dad is always working so hard, and he's waking up early, going to work. And then as soon as he gets off work, he's picking me up from school, or he's driving me to, because I was in band, like he's driving me to go play at a different location. And I'm like, man, this man just clocked in 8 to 10 hours. And now he's also doing all this for me. When I get older, I want to retire my dad. I want to put money in his bank account and pay for him to do whatever he wants because of all the sacrifices he did for me. So automatically off rip, if you meet anybody, any athlete, any entrepreneur, if they come from a poor upbringing, we all have the exact same dreams. I want to retire my dad. I want to buy my mom a car and crib. I want to take care of my family, and I want to make sure they're good. Like that's the goal, because you're so used to them taking care of you and making sacrifices just so you could eat and sleep on a comfortable bed. Your goal is, I want to make it to provide for them. However, I've met people who, when I started going up in life and started surrounding myself with people who grew up very well off and their parents never had to worry about bills, and they come from private schools and 2 to 3 vacations a year and always having the newest games, the newest shoes, and forget Jordans, like they were wearing Louis Vuitton when they were growing up. Their first bag was a Chanel bag. I'm talking about that type of upbringing. And for them, their goals is like, oh, I want to, do something I love. I want to scale this business. I want to be a CEO. I want to open this type of business in this field. And When you talk about their parents, like, oh, my parents are good. Like, they're in Aspen right now. They're chilling. They're on their fifth vacation on the year. Like, my parents are good. Only thing is, they're like, oh, I want to start, funding the family trips now, and then let my dad relax a little bit so he can have more time golfing. And there's never any doubt that they need to take care of their parents. Their parents are well taken care of. And that's another thing I want to, talk about as well. Like, your goals are in a sense higher, or how do I say this? Not necessarily more realistic, but they're, what's the word? It's like when you come from like the bottom and your goal is to make it. It's either you rap, trap, or go to the NBA. Like, you have to do something outlandish where the money's gonna. You have to do something like that, or you try to figure out how to learn business and start your own business. Versus somebody who comes from a very well upbringing is like, oh, like, I just got to make sure I pass these exams. I have tutors. I have private school. I'm gonna go to this Ivy League school. I'm gonna make sure I work for my dad's company here, get to management, and then I want to become a CEO, a CFO, or I want to open my own business. You already have like a set plan. Like, I stick to this, I'm gonna get here, and my parents' tools and resources and who they know is gonna get me there. I just gotta make sure I don't fuck up. You get what I mean? Versus when you're from the bottom, it's like, I got to make sure I don't step on the wrong toes. I got to make sure people don't kill me. I got to make sure family and friends don't snake me. I got to do some outlandish things. And I probably have to risk my life to get to here because I don't have the tools, the resources, nor the knowledge to get to where I need to be. You just don't know the information. So when it comes to setting your goals, I feel like when you're from the bottom, you have to really have a drastic dream and a drastic goal to even come close to achieving these levels of success. And you have to do something. You basically have to be the best at what you do. You have to be a LeBron James. You have to be a Kobe Bryant. You have to be a Jay-Z. You have to be somebody. You have to be a Marshawn Lynch. You have to be a once in a lifetime generational talent to be great. You get what I mean? Or you have to face the reality of, hey, I'm going to get this dead-end job that's going to pay me a certain amount of money. I'm probably never going to hit six figures. I might be lucky if I had 60 bands a year. So when it comes to setting your goals, like, just what you're witnessing when your goals are automatically different. And the second part of it is, man, I just lost my train of thought. What was the second part of it is so since I lost my train of thought, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna talk till I get it back. When I was younger and I was watching my parents, go through what they do, like to provide and make sure I'm good, to make sure I don't feel the effects of the poverty that we were surrounded with, right? I always wanted to be a doctor. I always loved helping people. I tend to have a good heart. I don't like to see people suffer. You know what I mean? So I always wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon, basically a heart surgeon, making sure people are good and taking care of people. But as I got older and I really started to do the numbers, I'm like, in order for me to become a doctor, for me to go to school, I have to get scholarships, right? I have to go out of my way to be the top 1% when it comes to my education. I have to go out of my way to pass the FCAT, the ACT, the SAT, all these exams, and I got to score ridiculously high. And I have to have a certain amount of community service hours. I have to apply to all these scholarships, and then I have to go ahead and try to go to a school with a great program for that specific department. When you do the math, you're like, hey, I'm going to have this amount of student loans, right? And then for me to take care of myself and my lifestyle, to have my own house and buy my own crib and do what I got to do, and the amount of time I got to spend in school, I'm like, man, by the time I get to where I really want to be in life and become that doctor, and for me to be so great at my job that they give me, seven figures, that's going to take a long time. And for me to even get these numbers, for me to retire my parents and do what I got to do, I'm like, man, that's a lot. You get what I mean? And while I was trying to figure things out, like I said, like, it's also your physical environment. I was surrounded by friends who were not necessarily bad people, but in bad circumstances. You get what I mean? Like, it's so easy to say, oh, like, kids are distracted, they don't care about school, they want to become drug dealers, they want to do that. But what do you do when you come from a situations where your parents are selling dope? What do you do in a situation where your parents are either dead or in jail, or like they're the ones teaching you how to sell dope to make more money? Because they either caught a felony when they were younger doing something dumb and they can't get a great job because of said felony. and they have a dead-end job that doesn't pay much, and they literally have to sell narcotics to, get extra money to support themselves. And what are you doing in a situations where your parents don't really care about you? You get what I mean? I was blessed to have parents who were loving and really nurtured and cared for me, and they always wanted the best for me, even though we didn't have that much financially. They made sure to know, like, hey, like, what we don't have financially, when it comes to love and support, like, we will give you as much of that as we can. You get what I mean? Everybody has their own, like, problems with their own family. Everybody has the goods and the bads, but like my family made sure, like, hey, bro, like, while we don't have financially, we have as a family, like, we will make sure you're good. But shit, I grew up people, like, and friends, like really close friends who I consider family, where shit, their families didn't even want them. Like, they got pregnant young, like mom got pregnant young, dad didn't want to be involved, mom didn't want to be a mom, but they didn't want to get rid of the kid because of, family pressure. Like, why would you do that? Every life, you know what I mean? Like, every life is important, which is true. And now you're in a situation where, like, yeah, like, now your parents don't want you. You're getting beat, you're getting abused, you're you know what I mean? Like, you're not loved fully. And that's an environment that people, like, I watch, like, people I really cared about go through. Like, they didn't want to go home because home is not home. Like, you're getting abused, you're getting beat, and you have these situations where, like, school is your safe haven, but you don't have money for books, you don't have money for clothing. Once you go home, you're basically feeding yourself, and now you're in a situation where you have to go out and make your own money. And if you're 13, 14, what else are you going to do? And you're growing up in an area where you're in Section 8, where every block that you go to, there's somebody posted up selling dope. And they got the J's that you want, they got the Hermes shirt that you want, the Burberry, the Gucci glasses, whatever. And you don't want to go home because it's not safe. So what do? You post up with them people, you make your own money, you start taking care of yourself. That's your environment. That's what you're surrounded by, versus someone who grows up in a loving household where shit, your room is 1,100 square feet. Like, your parents have a mini mansion. Like, they take care of you. They have everything you need financially. You have the newest of everything. You're in after school program. Shit, your school has after school programs. Shit, our schools, like, every program we had was getting cut because of funding. We didn't have anything. Versus, like, private schools and grade schools. Shit, you have culinary, you have sports, you have gymnastics, you have ballet, dancing, you have all these different opportunities and things that you can do. And then your parents have the means to pay for tutoring, where, hey, yeah, I want to open my own business, but hey, this gymnastics things, I like it, like, hey, I love golfing, I love playing tennis. And now you're in a situation where, instead of, like, you go home and it's home, like, your parents love you, they talk to you about your day, they talk to you about, how's school going, what's your friends doing, like, what do you want to do. They have these conversations, versus you're going home and you're getting cursed out, you're getting beat, you're getting abused, you feel ashamed that you're even born. Like, they're blaming you for, like, their circumstances when all you did was be born. Versus in a family where you're loved and they want to push you to be great, and they have all the means to make you great, and that's your environment. So what do you think is going to happen? I remember when I was growing up, and one thing that I think really helped me was my sister, my oldest sister, just joined band. Like, we never did anything. My family, we're Haitian, like, liquor like I legalese. Like, basically, you go home, you go to school, and then you go to church. Like, that's like the fundamentals of Haitian culture in America. That's just is what it is. You know what I mean? You stay home with your family, so you're not out there doing anything dumb. You go to school so that way you can have an education, so you can plan for the future. And you go to church so you can have God in your life, so you can be protected from all the wrongs or whatever. But it's almost like, in a lot of Haitian households, like, doing anything extracurricular is kind of like, hey, bro, like, are you trying to stay away from home? Are you trying to, like, go do something stupid? It's like, they kind of, like, it's weird. Like, you get pressed for wanting to do other things besides going home, going to school, and going to church. And that's just something in my community, my culture, that I've noticed is the problem. But one thing that helped me when I was younger, my sister decided to join, like, the marching band in high school. And, like, she would, come home later. She would always be happy, like, oh, I did this, I was having fun with my friends. I was doing this, that, and the third. And somebody like me, who just, like, went home, like, went to church and went to school, I was like, man, I'm like 12, 13. I'm like, that seems pretty dope. And during that time, when I was going to school, like, my middle school that I went to, like, I kid you not, like, every time school was over, my classmates and people that I knew were being handcuffed for selling drugs, or for having, weapons in their possession, or getting into fights or shit, even being charged for assault and attempted murder. Like that's not a lie. That's something every day, every week in school there would always be. You know how every school has like, well, I don't know every school. I'm talking about like public school where I went to. Like there'll be cops making sure like there's no issues for real. But when I was getting out of school, cops were arresting kids for legitimate crimes. And these were my classmates. My teachers did not care. I would come to class certain days and my teachers were just like, what am I? I'm not even gonna teach nothing. It's not gonna matter anyways. I literally had a teacher said that there is no lessons planned for today. Y'all don't even listen to me. Most of y'all are not gonna use this information anyway. Who knows where y'all gonna end up in the next 10 years? So why am I even gonna teach you this anyways? And we didn't care. It's like, hey, just be on your phones. Don't do anything stupid. Whatever. We're not doing anything for today. It doesn't matter. Can you imagine that you go to class and your teacher already gave up on you? And you're 12, you're 11, 12 years old and you don't know. So that's my experience with public school. So when I saw my sister, being in band and she's talking about friends and she's doing all these things, she's performing, she's having fun and she played the saxophone. I'm like, okay, that looks pretty dope. And my dad had got me a trumpet one day because I used to fall asleep in church, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I was not listening to it. I felt like every service sounded the same. And every time I would ask questions, I'm one of them kids. I always ask why. Like, why we gotta go to church? Like, why is God the savior? Like, why did they kill his son? Like, why do we sin? If God is ever so omnipotent, why does he give us the option to do this? And some questions that I asked, there was just no like answer to them. My parents didn't know how to answer me. So they would just be like, hey, bro, like walk by faith, bro. Like stop asking all these questions. And as the type of person I am, I never like that. If I ask a question, if there is a question, that means there is an answer. And if you can't give me the answer, why am I engaged in this? You know what I mean? So once I stopped getting answers and I would always ask a bunch of questions, I just, you know what, bro, like I couldn't pay attention. So I kept on falling asleep in church. So one day my dad was like, hey, bro, like, what instrument would you want to play, bro? I'm like, what? The drums? Like, not the drums, because like, you know the stigma behind like the drum players, bro. It's like yeah, whatever. It's not a good stigma. So like, what instrument do you want to play? It can't be the drums, right? I was like, I don't know. And during that time, because of my sister played the saxophone, I started to look into music and I was getting heavily into jazz. And my name is Louis. There's a famous instrumentalist named Louis Armstrong. And I was falling in love with his music and him playing the trumpet. And honestly speaking, bro, I love the saxophone. But if you ever seen it, there's like 100 keys on there. And I'm kind of lazy, bro. I don't want to do anything where I have to put a lot of effort into. I seen Louis Armstrong, and then the trumpet only had 3 keys. I'm like, I could do that. I'm like, yeah, let me play the trumpet, bro. Like, it's easy. I ain't got to do too much. With 3 buttons. How hard can it be? And luckily for me, I was blessed with just natural talent with it. Like, you have to have like a certain lip structure. Like, they can't be too big or too small, like to like put your mouth on to play it. Pause, but like that's just how it is. So I just naturally, genetically was like I have the body to play a trumpet, and then I also just had natural talent when it came to playing the trumpet. Shout out to God, you feel me? So I didn't really have to work too hard, right? So my dad ended up getting me a trumpet. So I ended up starting practicing and playing it, and I started getting okay at it, right? And this is part two of how like your environment plays a major role. So that middle school I was going at, where every time school was let out, my classmates were getting arrested and all types of stuff, right? So I was a very smart kid. I ended up acing my FCAT. The ace was I taking the ACT at the time? No, I think it was just the FCAT, right? I was always like in the top 10% in the entire like shit, like the top 5% in the entire United States when it came to FCAT ever since I was a kid. So I didn't even know this, but you can get recruited for your grades to go to a better school, because apparently if you have kids and they're always scoring high on these federal tests, and like your school gets more funding and more opportunities. So these better schools, they would recruit kids that are close enough to where like they can commute to their school, and they will let you come to their school, so that way you can go in their programs. And when you take these tests and you get like, it was like 1 through 5, 5 being the best. So if you get like these scores, they get the credit for it, and the school continues to get more funding. So I got recruited to a better school. I did 6th grade in that school, and then 7th grade I went to like a better school, and they had They had a music program. They had a lot of after school programs. It was a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and bro, the electives and extracurricular activities that school had, like I didn't even know they existed, but I got there because of my grades, and I continue to do good. And let me just show you like the importance of environment, right? So in my middle school, because they had absolutely no funding, there's something like if you order like if you buy like Kellogg's or like boxes of cereal, like on the top there's something called like a box top. Like it's like a coupon. Like each of them is worth like 10 cents or some shit like that, right? And it's like legitimate money. So if you buy a box of cereal and you cut out that piece and like you give it to the school, and then they send it to the company, they actually gives the school money for these box tops, right? And my middle school was so broke, they used to have competition, like which classes are gonna like develop the most or whatever. And let's just say like if you get like 100,000 box tops, that's like an extra 100 bands that the school can have to pay for teachers, pay for extra, for after school activities, all that good stuff. So they held competitions like, hey, whatever class gets this, you get a day off and you get a pizza party, blah blah blah. They spend like $100 on the class, but in returns, like they, motivate the kids to get these box tops, right? So I remember that. So when I got to my other school, I used to collect them, so that way, like my class could like win like whatever pizza party we were doing. So I went to this very rich ass middle school, right? So I got there, and in my first week of school, like I collected like like a bunch of box tops. I came and I gave it to my teacher. And my teacher's like, bro, what is this? I'm like, huh? They're like, what is this? What are you giving me a piece of paper for? I'm like, it's a box top. She's like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, oh, it's like a thing where like the school gets money if you guys like my other school used to do it. She's like, boy, if you don't get this out of my face, she was like, I don't know what this is. We don't need that. You ain't gotta do that no more. So basically, the school had so much funding, bro. They didn't even know what that was. So that being told, I ended up like staying after school. I ended up joining the band. I did like symphonic music, all that good stuff, and that's where my love for music like really came from. And like I told you before, I had like that one teacher that pulled up and just gave up on our class before school even started, just condemning us to being failures in life automatically. And when I joined band, I had like this phenomenal band teacher, and I had electives like because I was into music, I just took all the music electives because in my other middle school, like you had your core classes and whatever extra school, every other classes, they just put you. You didn't have a choice. But the school was so well off, like when you didn't like other than reading, science, and math, like you can pick your electives, whether you wanted to do like PE or weight training or music or chorus or shit, culinary. I didn't even know what culinary was. So all I did was like, oh, I'm gonna pick band, I'm gonna pick chorus. Anything that had to do with music, I did. And I ended up having one of the best teachers like I've ever had in my life. I've had like one or two other teachers that actually cared about teaching, that actually had a passion for teaching. Like they love kids. They want you to be successful. Like they love molding your mind to really believe you can achieve anything. And I enjoyed going to class because I always liked to learn when I was a kid. And my teacher like made me love music so much and make me want to pursue it. And around this time is when I really started to get into music. Before I was trying to learn about jazz and stuff like that, because my family only listened to gospel music. So I was learning like, that's when I first started to listen to music that inspired me, like Kanye West and Drake. And the very first song I've ever heard in my life where I'm like, bro, I wanna emulate that and replicate that and be that, was the first time I heard to the song "Flashing Lights" by Kanye West. And I also fell in love with poetry at the time. And I realized in one of my English classes, like we were learning about art and poetry, and how the different types of like haikus and stuff like that. And I just had a natural talent with words where, like, even while I'm making this podcast, people say when I talk, it's just enticing. People want to hear me talk. And I discovered that because I had teachers that were like teaching me things, right? So I was excited to go to band practice. I was excited to go to school and learn. And what that means is before that, when I was at my other school, I didn't care. I wasn't excited about to go to class. I wasn't excited to do none of that. And what was I doing at that time? I was chilling with dope boys. I was chilling with the niggas that was getting arrested. And I respected them because all these kids, what people don't understand is, yeah, like they're doing fucked up things, but they have good intentions. Bro, I had I remember when I was at that school, I was like 11 or 12, and this boy who was my age, he's like, bro, I'm selling dope to help my mom pays the bills because she can't. I don't see her, bro. Like if I make enough money this week, she might take a day off and I can actually spend time with my mom. You get what I mean? And I love my mom. I love my parents, bro. How can I look down on you for trying to make more money so you spend time with your family, bro? You're 11, 12 years old. You're not even old enough to see a PG-13 movie, and you're worried about making enough money so that way your mom can actually have a break so you can spend quality time with her. You get what I mean? So I hung with them and I didn't really see that being wrong. Yes, you're selling something illegal, but you're doing it for the right reason. So why would I look down on you? And if I'm in that same situation, I'm like, damn, like, so you're telling me if I sell dope and I give the money to my parents, like I'd be able to spend more time with them and my dad ain't got to work so hard and my mom could like really be home more often. Like, I'm like, that's a great deal. You feel me? I just gotta duck the cops and be smooth about it. I'm sneaky, bro. I can get it done. You feel me? So that was my mentality when I was over there versus me falling in love with the arts. And I wanted to show my mom, like, hey mom, I'm writing poetry. Hey dad, listen to me play the song on the trumpet. Now you see the difference of the importance of your environment when it comes to these things. So that's just me coming up as a kid and my upbringing. So that's what I wanted to get at when it comes to your physical environment versus me going from a school surrounded by a lot of kids who did not have, and they're doing everything just to get by, versus me going to a school with so much resources. You actually have time to invest in the arts and for you to figure out what your dreams are. At this point, if I was at this school, I'm like, man, I want to become the greatest dope boy and sell as much money as I can and make sure my people good while avoiding the feds and making sure my friends are put on, and we buy matching chains, we buy the Hellcats when we get older, like whatever. That would have been my goal had I stayed in that environment. Versus when I'm here, we have all these resources. I'm like, bro, like I can really become like a great trumpet player. I can become the next Louis Armstrong, and if I invest and I stay focused and continue to write poetry and learn and mix my skills with playing a physical instrument and my gift with spoken word and poetry, and I put them together, I can become a great musician. I can become the next Kanye West. You get what I mean? So that's just my physical environment and how it shaped my goals. Had I stayed here, I would not be here on this podcast. But once I was exposed to this, even though the high school that I went to wasn't that great when it came to, extracurricular activities and the things we were exposed to, but just 2 years of me being in middle school, being exposed to all of those resources, I knew the difference between having and not having. If all you've ever ate in your life is McDonald's and dollar menu food, you don't know what a Michelin star restaurant is. I didn't know what a Michelin star restaurant was till I was 23 years old. You don't know what that is. So how can you strive for something that you don't even know exists? It makes no sense. But if your environment is literally what you see, if all you see is this is all you know, like selling dope, doing this, whatever, surrounded by these type of people. If I have this amount of chains on, I have this amount of Jordans, I wear this amount of designer clothes, I'm up. You know what I mean? I do this, I beat these certain amount of people, like I ain't no hoe. Like I'm the most gangster nigga here. Like I'm successful. That's what success looks like over here because that's all you see. The people with the most money like that you see are them folk. Oh yeah, they're always being chased by the cops, but yeah, they're being chased in a Benz. I'm out here struggling in a Honda with no AC. So that's all you see, that's all you want to strive to be. But when you're over here and you're like, bro, your dad's a CEO to this company, bro. Like, the owner of BMW. Like, oh, like you do this. Like, you ain't gotta do all this illegal stuff, bro. If I stay in school, get this degree, get this specific career path, I'm guaranteed to make this amount of money. I just gotta know this skill set. And your people know these types of people. Like once you graduate, you just intern for them, and then you're good. Like you see different things. So that's the first half of this podcast. Is just when you're younger, like the type of environment that you are in versus, like what you know. And now I want to talk about like when you get older, like the type of people and friends that you're surrounded by. And I think I'm just blessed in a sense where I'm a good judge of character because of my parents. And I've had parents that are like, they're just good to God, honest people. Like if my parents could be like hella broke behind on our bills. But if somebody drops $100 bill in front of them and they see it, instead of like stepping on that thing, letting them walk and then, picking up that $100 bill and putting it in their pocket, my parents would be like, hey, excuse me, ma'am or sir, you dropped this $100 bill. Whole time that $100 bill could be the difference between us being late by a month or us being, able to pay a bill. They would never even think to just pocket that money. It's not the right thing to do. So I was raised in an environment, luckily thanks to my parents, where I knew the difference between right or wrong. And even if I'm in a messed up predicament, that doesn't change the fact that something is right or wrong. Even if I'm going to benefit from it, if it's wrong, it's wrong. So when I was able to do that, when I was coming up and I was surrounded by, kids, I wanted to be cool, I wanted to be popular, but at the same time, I just knew the difference between right and wrong. If you're making fun of a kid because he doesn't have something and it's not his fault, I'm like, that's just wrong. That ain't right. You feel me? And I didn't have that much, but I also have friends where, they had a lot, but at the same time, they're like, nigga, this ain't my parents paid for this, you know what I mean? But like, you're cool. We like to do the same things. Like, we're on the same playing fields. We're just kids. And yeah, I'm wearing new Jordans and you're wearing like fucking Payless shoes, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? It just means your parents have more. That doesn't make you any less of a person than I am. So when I was growing up, I was able to make, good friends and understand the difference between right and wrong. And, like my brother that I got on this podcast a few episodes ago, like that's one of my very like first true friends that I've ever had that, over the court, we've been friends for over a decade. And that's because I have friends where we know the difference between right and wrong and we stand by principle. It doesn't matter where we came from or the type of environment, but you're also the type of people you're surrounding yourself with. Like birds of a feather flock together. That's a real saying. If you're surrounded by a bunch of degenerates and people who have no goals and ambitions, if I see you, like it's just by proxy, you're somebody with no goals and you ain't got nothing going with no goals and ambitions. You're one of them. You get what I mean? So when I was younger, I knew a lot of people, but I never really called a lot of people friends. I'll have conversation with you, but if you do certain things or like little things that you do, I always keep a mental note. I'm like, oh, like you're the type of person that still candy when nobody's looking. I can't rock with you. You're a thief. You get what I mean? You're the type of person like, hey, like, you're smiling to my face and we're making, we're joking together. And then I go talk to another person like, oh, that nigga you was just laughing with, joking with, like that's your homie. Like he just said this bad thing about you when you weren't around. Like when, people were talking good about you, he said this bad thing about you. So that way people could be attracted to them. I'm like, okay, you're not a good person. You're just one of the people you'll smile to my face and stab me in the back. I can't be around you. So I was able to determine these things because of how I was raised as a parent. Unfortunately, where I come from, a lot of people don't amount to nothing. And I keep a small group of friends because they always had big goals and big ambitions, and they also had principles where they know the difference between right and wrong. And we also come from a place where we did not have much. And yes, we might have done a lot of wrong things, but we also accept the accountability. I have the type of friends where I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm finna go do this. My friend will look me dead in my face like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen, and it's not gonna end well for you. But because you're my friend, I'm going to do this with you. So even though it's not going to end well, I don't want it to end even worse for you, bro. I'm going to be there to make sure to lessen the consequences. But I can tell you right now, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And you shouldn't do this. But if you're doing this, let me at least be there with you. So that way it's not as bad at it as it's going to be if you were to do it yourself. I got to respect that. And if I have a friend like that, where I'm like, I'm going to make this decision and it's a bad decision and we both know it, and he's only going to go because of me, I have to change my decision around because I'm like, damn, if I go through with this, I'm not going to be the only one taking the L, but my best friend is too. So let me not do that. And that's the importance of having a good friend. Like there's people that you'll be in the process of making a bad decision. You might not know, or you might know, and your friend is going to know that you're making a bad decision, but they're egging you on to do it just so they can watch you crash and burn for their own benefit. That's not a friend. But a lot of people, I've seen people, adults who are 40, 50, 60, who have friends and family like that. Oh, that's my best friend, whatever. I'm like, bro, like, I'm watching this person like talk down on you, talk down on your family, your kids, like your plans, your goals, your ambitions. And that's one of your best friends, like, you know what I mean? And There are certain types of people, like they keep you around just so they can watch you not hit a certain amount of success because it makes them feel better about themselves and where they are at in life. They like to see you crash and burn so they can feel better about their circumstances. And they're gonna egg you on to do the wrong things. You get what I mean? And that's the importance of having like a good environment around you where you have friends and family that support you during the good, but they're not just yes men or yes women that are just telling you, like egging you on to do whatever you say you're gonna do just because. You gotta have friends that you look you dead in your face like, yo, that you should not do that. I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, but I've been through this, or my friends been through this, my family's been through that. And that right there, that's not a good idea. And I'm not gonna go through it with you. I'm just letting you know as a friend, like you shouldn't do that. You get what I mean? And shit, there's been times where I've had where I got sick and tired of trying to do things the right way. And I'm like, you know what, bro, I'm finna go do this, right? And I've had my own brother like, hey, bro, like, talk to me, bro. Like, I'm like, what you mean? Like, you want to do this and you want to risk your life and your freedom. Why, bro? The consequences have not changed. If you do this, you're either gonna die or end up in jail. Yeah, you're gonna get this amount of money, but you know this already, and you already decided not to do that. Why are you deciding to do this like right here, right now? What's going through your mind, bro? What's going on in life right now, bro? Like, what's bugging you, fam? Like, what is making you do this right here, right now? You get what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're gonna get paid. You might get paid for a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, that's gonna set you back in the long run. Yeah, you're gonna have temporary results and you're gonna be good, but like that's gonna set you back. Why are you deciding to do that? That's a good friend. That's a good family member. Like, hey, I hear you, but like, what's the reason? And then you start talking like, hey, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, and now you start venting and you start really talking about your life. And sometimes it's always good to just hear yourself talk, because sometimes you hold all this pain and whatever you got going through inside, and you won't. Once you verbalize it and you speak it and you hear yourself talking, you hurt for real. Like you feel the pain, you feel your struggle, and sometimes you cry, sometimes you accept the facts. But now that's out of your system, and you're not just holding that in. Now you can think more clearly. Sometimes when you talk to a friend and you're about to make a bad decision, they tell you that that's not the right thing, and they really ask you like, why are you doing that dumb shit? You get to talk about it, and you're like, damn, you're right, I am being stupid. Like, of course. Now, what's the right way to do this? Like, what's the right way to overcome this? And that's a good environment. And I feel like even people who are successful, where you hear stories about people winning the lottery or their businesses take off and they start splurging money on their friends and family, like, hey, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that. It's because they don't have a friend or like somebody close to them saying like, hey, bro, you need to save your money and invest it. Yeah, you have this amount of money and it's going well for you right now, but this money is not promised. You might have gotten lucky, like the circumstances might have worked in your favor. Your situation might have put you in a position to win, but like you don't even know why you're winning. You're just winning. So how about you figure out how to reinvest your money so that way you can actually comfortably able to give back to the people you care about. But a lot of times the people you care about, they care about themselves. Oh, I'm gonna get me a car. I'm gonna get, yeah, keep giving me that. And then once you blow through all that money or all that success and you need a helping hand, they're gone. Nobody's around. And a lot of time people who win the lottery or the first time millionaires, they go broke because they don't have a people in their ears like, hey, that's not the right thing to do. I know for a fact right now, if I were to win the lottery and I want to buy my friends a bunch of whatever, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's cool and all, but nigga, before you buy me a $250,000 AP, bro, put that in your savings account. You know what I mean? Like, get you an accountant, get you a financial advisor. Yeah, you have all this money right now, but how is that money gonna make you more money? Where is the new money coming from? Because if you're not making money and you're spending money, it's gonna deplete. But if you're making more money, then yeah, then give me that. If you got $100 million to spend, then give me a $250,000 AP. But if you got $500,000, why are you giving me half of that to get me a watch that I don't really care about? You know what I mean? Like, what's the plan, Brody, bro? Like, what do you plan to do with these funds? Like, don't just spend it. Like, what do you plan to do to make more coming in? A lot of people don't have that in the ear because they just see, man, I'm gonna get me a G-Wagon and I ain't gotta pay for it. I just gotta tell this dude, yeah, like he doing it, stroke his ego. Shit, I'm gonna do that. And if shit fall through, nigga, I'm in that G-Wagon. It's in my name. I ain't gonna sell it. You get what I mean? So that's the importance of having like good friends and like a good environment around you. And I also feel like a lot of adults don't even have that as well. So you always need to have a group of people around you that even when you hit success and you are successful, they gotta motivate you to continue to be great. You know what I mean? The thing about life is it never stops until you die, which is a good thing. And a lot of time, you're when you lock in, your goals are not unachievable. That's why they're goals. I feel like a lot of time people set their goals and they don't think that they're gonna achieve it, and it's just always there so that way they don't give up on life. It's just something I always want to strive for. But when you really lock in, you're gonna achieve your goal. But oftentimes, when you really like do what you need to do, it doesn't take as long as you ever thought it would. Or it comes like one thing I've learned from hearing successful people, like you spend a lot of time working to get there and it's gonna feel like forever. But once that success comes, it comes fast. It's not, a lot of people say that there's no such thing as overnight success, but it feels like it's coming overnight because you'll spend 10 years working on something day in, day out. And next thing you know, in 30 days, you can see yourself getting a lot of success. There's this game that came out. It's I don't know. I think it's called like Monster Hunters or something like that. It's based off Pokemon allegedly, and basically it's like a violent Pokemon game where like you can capture Pokemon, but you can make them do a lot of different things, and you can actually do a lot of violent things in that game, which you can't do in Pokemon, right? And that guy apparently went from not having that much money to being a damn near billionaire. And like, I think when they launched the game, they spent like their entire savings on it. The company was probably worth like 10 bands or something crazy like that, right? And then in 90 days, that game got so viral, they're almost worth $1 billion. And they probably spent months and months developing that game. It was just an idea. You're chilling in your, one bedroom apartment. You're living in your basement. Next thing you know, you got $1 billion in your account, and you're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even a quarter in business, and now you went from being a nobody to where like your funds can affect the economy. So the success comes overnight at times. And where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought again. Um, yeah, you might just have all this new money and you just don't know what to do with it. You got to be able to have people and friends in your family like, hey, bro, like you achieved your goal, but like, what else do you want to do? What else? What else? What passions do you have in life that you want to, excel? You made this goal and you achieved it. What's the next step? You can do this. You get what I mean? You got to have these people in your corner to continue to push you to reach new levels of success. And once you hit these goals, you just want to get better and you just have that drive. But if you have somebody where like, bro, you hit it, bro, you hit the pinnacle, that's it, you're winning in life, that's that. And next thing you know, you hit that one goal, you hit the pinnacle, and next thing you know, everything goes in a downward spiral because you never had no other ambitions and goals after that. You might have thought you wanted to do something else, but all your friends and the people around like, nah, bro, like don't worry about that. You're winning, bro. Like you're getting to that bag. Forget all that other stuff. Just keep doing that. You know what I mean? And sometimes whatever that goal is, that first level of success, like that can go away. For example, whoever invented the typewriter, bro, like he was probably balling. Like, man, I just invented this. You ain't got to write letters no more. You just type. It's easy. Next thing you know, computers get made and that boy's cooked. You get what I mean? Like these things happen fast. So like what success you might have today and it might not be worth that much tomorrow. So you always got to have somebody to push you in your corner to take risk and also continue to find passions in life and continue to create new goals and to continue to hit, upper echelons and whatnot. And I think a lot of time, like people want to say that money doesn't buy happiness. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, but like, I understand why they say that. And one of the reasons I want to bring this up is when I first started working, I remember I had a job where I would work, I worked basically 5 days a week. I had 2 days off, but I was also a full-time student. So on my 2 days off, I had class from basically morning to night. And once I'm done with school, I got to go to work the next day. And this was one of the jobs where if I clocked in late by 1 minute, like literally 1 minute, if I got to clock in at 7 o'clock, I clock in at 7:01. I have a written, like I'm late. And if I have a certain amount, I get fired. You get what I mean? So I worked that job and bro, I just hated every moment of it. I felt like I had nothing. I felt like I wasn't living life. I would clock in, do my job, then I would go to school, and once I get home, I would do my homework. When I'm off, I'm going to school doing my homework. My friends at the time, my closest friends were out in they went to different colleges and in different states, and I was by myself. And the only so-called friends that I had at the time, like they were just never around. They were living their lives and only came around when shit was good, but they weren't real friends. You feel me? So I was just by myself working all the time. And granted, I had a lot of money saved up when I was that age. Like, you feel me? I was staying with my parents, so like every dollar I made, I didn't really have no bills. I had my car, but I paid $1,000 for my car. It was an old beat up car. I paid a band for it. I just paid for my insurance. That's it. And I remember one day, bro, I used to forget when I got paid. Like I wasn't happy. I had commas in my account, but I was so like dead inside because I wasn't doing anything I wanted to do. I hated my job. I lost my passion for school because of whatever career I was working on. I knew for a fact the financial goals and whatever I wanted in life, I couldn't afford to get those with that job, or it just didn't seem like I could really provide and live the lifestyle I wanted with that. So I'm like, why am I in school for this when I know it's not going to get me to like my main goals in life? And why am I working this job when I hate every moment of it? And I had all this money that it was the first time I had like real money, but I couldn't enjoy because there was nothing I wanted to buy that would bring me happiness. There's nothing I wanted to do because I had no goals, bro. Like I said from my last podcast, bro, Future once said, bro, the luxury of having passion. For some reason at that point in time, I was going through so much. I gave up on my dreams and my goals. I didn't want to pursue it. You know what I mean? I just felt I had nothing to do. I felt stagnant, but shit, I had a lot of money, but I was the furthest thing from happy. And it was just the environment. I hated what I was doing every moment of it. I hated my physical location. I hated my the job that I was working. I hated what I was doing in school, and I had no like close friends at the time. And the people I was closest to were also going through a lot of dark things. So I was in a situation where I was in a very fucked up environment in every aspect of life, and I didn't enjoy anything at all. I would wake up and go, shit, I didn't even go to sleep, bro. All I did was watch anime till late and then did my homework or whatever. And that went on for like 6 months. But in my mind, those days were so dead to me. It felt like the longest 24 hours of my life. The days just blended together. And that shows you, like what, like I had the money, but I hated every, moment of that situation because the environment was so bad. I didn't want to do anything. And then years later, I was traveling and I got to Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada, and I just thought it'd be like a great city and a great opportunity to like start my to really set foot and build my business from there. I was close to California. If I really wanted to, I could go to the East Coast and I could really build up my music and my clothing line and everything I wanted to do. But when I got there, it just wasn't, the environment wasn't that great. The people there, like, honestly, besides gambling and drinking, there's not that much to do in Vegas. And every single job that they had was based on tourist economy. There's a lot of great artists, that I met over there, and that were, that treated me cool. But the music scene was not what it needed to be. Unless you were somebody established, it's going to be really hard to come out of Vegas as a musician, even if you make dope music, because they don't really try to push that. And if you go to events where there's like musicians, it's just friends and families of other artists. And once that artist performs, they leave. So you don't really have any legitimate people looking for new music, looking to get like, find, that diamond in the rough where they can, really fall in love with their music. And with the clothing line, it was just like, I don't know, the type of people living there. A lot of people live in Vegas because it's, cost efficient and, like it's not that cheap, but a lot of people from California were moving in. So people weren't willing to spend money on like, clothing, like fashion and stuff like that, or really invest in other people. The only thing that a lot of people do in Vegas is literally drink and go gamble. I ain't gonna talk down on Vegas. I don't want them boys got that power and that influence. Like, I get it. You can do what you want. That if that's what you do, like do what you do. But at the same time, if you're not, one of them, like gambling or a drinker, like there's nothing to do there. And I lost a lot of money in Vegas. I mean, I lost a lot of money. I spent about a year and a half in Vegas, and I feel like that set me back 5 years. You get what I mean? And at one point, I realized that's not the place for me to be, but I felt like I was stuck financially because I spent so much money on my business and my music. By the time I'm like, damn, this ain't the place for it. I didn't have enough funds to just get up and go to California or go to somewhere else. So I tried thugging it out. I'm like, man, I'm gonna just re up on my money here, do what I gotta do. And bro, that environment was so bad for me specifically. There's a lot of people that I met in Vegas that they started their businesses there. They left their like their towns and did what they had to do, and they prospered because they found like a specific niche that they fell into that it worked out for them. And there is a lot of great business opportunities out there specifically. But for what I was trying to do and the type of lifestyle I was living, it was just not the right environment for me. And I had no friends, no family, and the type of people there, like there's a lot of pessimistic people there. You get what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, I don't know, like some people are just afraid. I ain't gonna get into it, but anyway, it's just it wasn't the right environment for me. And I spent a year and a half of my life where I really had no funds. You get what I mean? And the funny thing about it is like I said earlier, that first job I had a bunch of money, but the environment there I wasn't enjoying it. Like where I was staying with my parents, I didn't really like that too much. And the same thing with Vegas, but at the same time, man, my crib was nice. You know what I mean? Like my crib was nice where I was staying at. Shit, I had a car, you know what I mean? Like the strip is beautiful. There's a lot of casinos. Like what they do in Vegas, like the strip is beautiful, you know what I mean? And there's certain things and there's a lot of good food. Hey, the food in Vegas, phenomenal. There's a lot of things to do there, but just for me, like I was struggling because I didn't have the funds and I couldn't get my business to take off. And I was spending more money than I was making. And if you're an accountant or anybody who knows about money, the moment you're spending more than you're getting, you're cooked. Like it's a bad place to be. And I had to, realize like, hey, I have to leave. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck here and I'm going to be in a downward spiral until like I really hit rock bottom. So I had to leave because that just wasn't the right environment for me. So I feel like a lot of times too, like I've lived in Miami, bro, and I remember I was talking to my homeboy one time, and I'm like, bro, like we grew up in Miami our entire lives, but there's tourists that know more about our city than we do, because all we know is just our block and where we came from, and we go do the same thing every weekend, and we do the same different, you know what I mean? Like my friend was trying to make it to the league, so all he did was work out and grind. I'm trying to be a musician a lot, and all I did was go to school and write songs and whatever. I didn't want to go out because I had no bread, and Miami is one of the most beautiful places out there with some of the most gorgeous women and like some of the most attractive people. Great water, great beaches. I've traveled a lot, and I kid you not, bro, Miami is one of the best places to live. And I remember I was talking to my homeboy when we was really going through it, and he's like, "Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, what are we doing right now, fam? Like I know I'm grinding and whatever, but like bro, like, I'm only gonna be this young one time. Like I know I'm gonna make it to the league if I keep doing what I do, but like fam, even when I'm off and when like I can only grind for so long, bro. Like everybody needs to recover, fam. Like I feel like I'm giving myself excuses on why I'm not living life just in general. I keep focusing on this grind, but he's like, bro, I hang out with other athletes who are NFL bound and they still have a social life. They still spend time with their family and they still have time to go to brunch every now and then and do different things. Like we're not living life. We just know this because that's all we know. But like we gotta change, bro. We're only gonna be young this once. We only have one life to live as far as we know it. Why are we like stuck in this endless cycle where like it's like we made a fence for ourselves, like this block and these people that we're around, we talk to the same people, we go to the same places when there's so much more that the world has to offer. You feel me? And he's like, and it's crazy because I have a lot of people that I'm close to that I would consider friends, but like I feel like you're one of the very few people I can say that shit to where they're not gonna be like, nigga, you're tripping, nigga. Like we locked in, life is good. You know what I mean? And we really had that talking and we had that conversations like, bro, like no matter how this shit go, bro, let's live our life and let's change the environment. And I feel like a lot of people, they're so comfortable of like, man, I grew up here. I know the people here. I know the lady at the corner store, like all my friends and all my family here. But at the same time, that environment that you grew in could be the same reason that you're stuck in a predicament or you're complacent and you're not being successful because you're afraid to change your environment physically and the people that you hang around. At the end of the day, bro, like as much as we want world peace and to end the world hunger, bro, like at the end of the day, there's always going to be beef. As long as there is like more than two people in this world with two different opinions, there's always going to be beef and violence. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna have more resources than another, you know what I mean? Like some places just produce more food. There's always gonna be problems. You feel me? So sometimes you just have to get away from one environment and go to another. And I remember reading this one quote. They were like, hey, bro, like a bottle of water could be worth $1 here. But at the same time, if you go somewhere else, a bottle of water is worth like $5. It's not necessarily the product didn't change. It's just water, but it's just the environment that it's in is worth more money. And right now we're in November, bro. Halloween Horror Nights just happened. I went there a couple years ago, bro. We were me and my friend. We were walking through Horror Nights, and we was thirsty. Disney's big as hell, bro. I went to buy a bottle of water, bro. Not no Fiji, not no crazy brand, not no imported water. Just a regular bottle of water, like Zephyr Hills or something, or just a regular bottle of water, bro. That thing was like, it was $6 for a small bottle of water. You go to the gas station anywhere, that bottle of water is like shit, $1.50. You get what I mean? And it's just like it's the exact same brand, exact same bottle of water. But when you're somewhere where there's a lot of water and there's a lot of people with no hope, no whatever, they're gonna value, oh, that water is only worth $1.50. But when you're when you're walking through Horror Nights and you're dehydrated, your legs are burning, you just want something to drink, they could have charged me $10 for that bottle of water. I would have paid for it. Because when you're thirsty, you're gonna do it. And at the same time, too, if you're in a desert and you're thirsty as hell, I'll give every single dime. If I'm dehydrated, I'm about to die of dehydration. That same bottle of water, bro, I'll give you everything I own to sip that water. And that's the analogy that I want to use about like your environment. You have to change it. You know what I mean? If you're not appreciated where you are and nobody values you or your skill set, no matter what your talents are, leave to where you are appreciated. That go for relationship. If you're in it with a significant other and they don't value you, leave, change the environment. If you're at a job and you work day in and day out and you know you're the reason that that company's staying afloat or your department is seeing the success that it is because of you, and they think you're worth $1.50 instead of $6, leave. Go to somewhere where people value your skill sets and what you can like provide for them, bro. And if you're in a city and you feel like you have like the potential and the desire to be great and you know you can be, but however the opportunities aren't there or like the positions are not available, like whatever you want to do, it's just a bunch of smokes and mirrors, just leave. Sometimes the best thing you got to do is leave and change your environment. Yes, the grass is not always greener on the other side, but at the same time, don't stay somewhere where you're not appreciated and you're not valued. You know what I mean? So that's the main thing I wanted to talk about the importance, of your environment. And I've experienced that, firsthand. I've traveled a lot. And honestly, me deciding one day to just get up and leave Miami and just see what the world has to offer. Yes, there's a lot of things where I can say, you know what? Honestly, the grass is not greener on the other side from where I came from. But I can also tell you as well, there's a lot of times where I was not appreciated where I was at in life and where I was at physically. And now that I've removed myself from a lot of people in their lives in that environment, there's a lot of people that value me differently now, bro. There's a lot of people, the only time they see me is through a podcast episode or through an Instagram post or whatever. Or if I tweet on Twitter, that's the only time they'll ever see me. But when I was around them individuals in that environment, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't appreciated. Nobody gave me a call. Nobody gave me a text. And I still have my goals and my dreams and my ambitions. And once I started to travel and to live life and experience these things, they're like, damn, that nigga Louis was really like that. He had that in him the whole time. I always did. You know what I mean? I'm never a nigga to be like, I told you so, or like, I'm always like, I move in silence. I do what I do. But my brothers that I call my brothers and my families and friends, they always knew I had it in me. I just never took that step because I didn't think I had it in me. You feel me? Sometimes I had to leave the environment to figure out my worth. You know what I mean? If you're surrounded by people telling you, hey, your worth is this, and you're like, I don't think so, but if 100 motherfuckers tell me like I'm worth this, then it gotta be true. You get what I mean? And if you're hearing that day in and day out, hey, you're worth this, you're worth that. If you're here in your mind and to them, you are worth that. Even if you don't believe you're worth that, if everybody there believes you're worth that, they're gonna determine your worth. However, if you just say, man, I don't think so, I just think I'm in the wrong place, and you move, shit, you might have 100 people tell you you're worth that, And then you go here, you got a million people telling you you're worth way more than you could have ever imagined. And now you start to believe them too. Nothing changed. You're still the same person, still the same drive, still the same skill set, still the same goals. But now you know, like, I was just in the wrong place. You know what I mean? And there is a saying where it's like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it ain't worth nothing. You get what I mean? But if you judge a fish by its ability to swim and live in water, it's worth everything. Oftentimes, you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, surrounded by the wrong people that have this perception of you because of what they know, and that's not necessarily you. And then, honestly speaking, bro, like, a lot of people, when they make it in life, they don't want to go back to where they grew up as, because them people, it's not a good experience. They always viewed you, man, that's just Louis from whatever. Whole time when you step outside that city, you're one of the greatest to ever do whatever that you do. And those same people that kept on telling you that you're worth that, in their mind, they refuse to say that. They refuse to admit that you're worth what you know you're worth. And they'll do anything out of envy and jealousy to take that away from you, to make sure you crash out. And that's why a lot of people, they will forever hate you. And I think sometimes you have to leave your environment, because the people you grew up with and the environment that you grew up around might be the chains and shackles holding you down, because they refuse to accept that you're worth more than where you came from and the type of people that you were around, because that's all that they know and that's all that they see themselves at. And if they think that you're one of them, they will forever view you as one of them and will forever not give you credit for what you're worth, and you have to leave. So I think that's what the importance of your environment is. And honestly, bro, right now I'm in Denver, Colorado. This is my third time coming here, and the first time I ever came here was the very first time I've ever seen snow. I was born in Haiti. Yeah, we have mountains, and I remember to this day, I'll probably remember this moment till I die. I drove through the Rocky Mountains, and I left my phone in the car. It was me and a friend. We were traveling, and we got to the Rockies. We were in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about, there's no cars besides like two or three just driving scenic routes, and you're up 1,000 feet in the air. You're on the cusp of mountains, bro. And I remember just sitting there looking over, like the lakes, the trees, the mountains. There was mooses, there was deers, there was birds flying, and it was snowing. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever witnessed in my life. And I was so focused on, hey, I want to be worth $1 billion. I got to lock in. I got to do this, that, and the third. And when I was in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I'm like, bro, if this car stops and it doesn't work and nobody's there, the most valuable thing to me are going to be heat, food, and water until I get rescued. It made every doubt that I had about, like, am I even, like, can I say I'm worth $1 billion? Do I have enough skill or talent to believe that I can achieve my goals? Am I worthy of my goals? You get what I mean? Before, I was really delusional about my goals. Sometimes you're going to have doubts every now and then, but I'm like, man, whatever. And when I got there and I was on that mountain, bro, and I'm literally above the clouds. I'm like, the clouds are beneath me. I look to the left, there's a moose and a deer eating, and it's just silence. There's no cars, there's no static, there's no electricity. It's just the wind, the cold breeze, and the snow. It made me realize, bro, like, none of that shit matters, bro. Every dream I aspire to be is just, it's just man-made. I want to be, great at music. I want to be the best. I want to be a billionaire. But when you're surrounded by nothing but nature itself, and you realize, if my car doesn't start and there's nobody else here but me, and my phone doesn't work, the most valuable thing are going to be food, water, and heat. You kind of realize, like, a lot of things that you're stressing about, that you're adding so much value to, it doesn't matter. Those environments doesn't exist. Right here, it's just you and life. And you take a deep breath and you kind of realize, like, man, like, I'm blessed to be alive. You get what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people need to escape those environments. And I didn't think about where I came from, like where I grew up at, what people's expectations of me are, what people's perception of me are, what people want me to be versus what I want to be, what I think I am. I was just living in the moment, and I was just blessed to be alive. You get what I mean? And the reason I brought up the story right now is I've experienced peace. And I feel like a lot of people, whether you're rich or whether you're poor, a lot of people don't experience like true peace because in your environment, shit, like when you're broke, bro, shit, you might call like your bank if you need to take out money or you need to ask a question and they might transfer you 1 billion times or whatever and you can't talk to the right department. Whew, the moment you ain't got money to pay them people for a bill or money that you owe, bro, they will call you morning, evenings, nights. Bro, them collection agencies, they will call you 24/7. So when you're broke, you don't have peace because you always have somebody calling you to collect money. You always have like, another bill, another responsibility. Something is always like on your mind that you're stressed out. Like you have something at all times. Somebody's always hassling you about something. In that environment, I've seen so many people in their 30s and shit. I had some gray hairs from when I was struggling in Vegas. I started to get gray hairs when I was, 25? And I don't, you know what I mean? And my dad didn't start getting gray hairs till he hit 40. Like I was in such a stressful environment. I literally aged. You know what I mean? Like when I told you like being there for a year and a half changed me and set me back for a couple years, that's what I felt like. I aged differently. And you got to think there's people that have been living like that for decades and they've never experienced true peace. And on the flip side, the billionaires and millionaires, bro, you always have somebody like, yo, I need you to approve this business deal. You got family like, hey, you're not spending time with me. You're not there the whole time, bro. If I spend more time with you, I can't get the money to give you the shit that you said makes you happy. You get what I mean? You got people asking you to borrow money, friends. And I was there for you. I'm your brother. I'm your sister. Why can't? It's another type of stress. You know what I mean? And I always wondered, I'm like, and that's where that saying more money, more problems come from. You know what I mean? You get more money now, you have more responsibilities and more people expecting you to give them a handout because they know you or they think they know you or your family or friends. You have second cousins you've never spoken to. Hey, family, like, give me something. And these people never have a moment of peace. And when I was out there, bro, like that gave me like the utmost peace and tranquility. And I felt like even whether you're rich or you're poor, you still need an escape from those environments too. Yes, you need to be surrounded by people to motivate you to be great, to achieve success and whatnot. You know what I mean? But you also need to have time and where you need to go to an environment where none of that shit matters. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people, it's either, I'm rich and successful and I have rich people problems, or I'm broke and I'm struggling and then woe is me, I have poor people problems. And I ain't gonna lie, I really got into spirituality and stuff like that because no matter where you are in life or what goals and aspirations you have, you also need a good environment. And sometimes you being rich and successful might be a bad environment for your mental. You know what I mean? And I've talked to people who are very wealthy, and health is wealth. You might be so stressed out and you're getting a lot of money, but the environment is you're getting the money in such a toxic environment. It's killing you softly. It's killing you slowly. You know what I mean? So you have to always be able to balance who you're around and the environments that you're in because they do dictate, your overall well-being. And I feel like everything needs to have a balance in life. Yes, you need to have, like groups of people and friends and family to tell you, stay motivated, keep grinding, do what you need to do to be successful. But you also need that, friends and family to be like, hey, bro, take a fucking break, relax. Like, you know what I mean? Even if you work out or you're an athlete, one of the most important things is rest and recovery. And getting money is also a skill in a sport, bro. You need to rest and recover and give yourself that peace of mind. Remove yourself from that work environment and get you some peace and really focus on your internal environment, bro. Because your mentality and your perspective and how you feel dictates, your prosperity in real life. So you really gotta be aware of your environment at all times, and you really gotta do everything that you need to make sure you're always, well balanced and you have a perfect mix of everything. You ain't gotta go out and get drunk every Tuesday, but at the same time, you locked in and always, like focus on the grind. That's not a good thing either, bro. Like you need to live life. You need to have fun, bro. I ain't gotta say you gotta get drunk or do drugs or run through a million men or women to, enjoy yourself, but you gotta find something, bro. You gotta go on a walk, go touch grass, go on a hike. Shit, go skiing, go snowboarding, go swimming, find something that brings you peace and tranquility, that is going to make you, that brings you peace on the internal environment, that's going to make you enjoy your physical and outer environment, and also make you really be grateful and happy that you have the types of people that you have in your life that you're surrounded by that dictate that type of environment. So I hope this was a great episode. I don't know what was going on, but I was having a lot of I was losing my train of thought a lot making this video. I don't know. I struggled a lot making this video. I don't know what was going on, but I think I just need to eat and get some nutrients in my body. It's crazy, but I'm always happy to bring out another episode. I'm always happy to continue to make this podcast. Every time I make one, I feel accomplished and I feel great. And I hope every time I make another episode, whatever I'm saying, whether it's my stories or my experiences or my outlook on life, really gives you something to take away. Whether it's how you live your life, who you're surrounded by, or just motivates you to keep being great. I hope that's what I do with these podcasts. And if you don't like me, bro, just watch the video and support me and leave a comment, whether good or bad. It's gonna help me out. So I'm always grateful and I'm always happy. And to anybody who's tuning in, week by week on the start off, thank you for growing with me through it all, and thank you for being part of my environment and really motivating me to continue to make these episodes. I'm doing it for me first. I'm doing it for my friends and families and those, that really look up to me. And I'm also doing it for those I have never met. Hopefully my words and my stories can really help you out in your path in life. And as always, I hope you be great and strive and be great and always attain success and never stop chasing your goals. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Ambition Unlocked. And please, as always, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, see you then.